and they lost 15 cows.
A rancher in Fremont County continues to seek answers as to why 15 of her cows died in just one day.
All right, here's what happened. On May 21st, I spoke with a local rancher in Fremont County about her dead cows. Let's rewind for a few weeks. On May 8th, she found 15 of her cows dead with no definite cause of their deaths. And that day, she contacted local vet to find answers. A week later, that vet came back and said sulfate poisoning is likely the cause. She tells me a testing result from a different lab still leaves her no answers as to why her cows died.
I saw the most disturbing video on Yanansi TV. If you guys don't know him, I'm going to tag the original video in the description of this one. And he's talking about all of these cattle dropping dead in the pastures.
So 15 cows is actually a considerable amount of money to lose.
I think it's interesting to note that Mark Hines with Cowboy State Daily just published a story on June 3rd talking about a similar situation in Wyoming that happened on Clint Snook's ranch.
For Clint Snook, the vexing mystery facing a Colorado ranch family is eerily familiar. Like the Higgs family in central Colorado, he's had cattle die suddenly and mysteriously. Snook, who ranches in Crook County, told Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines that 2 summers, several years back, he had cattle bafflingly fall over dead in a particular pasture, and roughly 20 cows died each time.
We ran that story about the cattle in Colorado that earlier this month started falling over dead, and they can't figure out why. So I got a call from a rancher. He said a couple years in a row, about 6 years ago, they had the same thing happen. They had a bunch of cows, he said, just pretty much die on their feet in a pasture that he runs near Devil's Tower in Wyoming. He said there was just a particular meadow where all told about 40 cattle over 2 years just died suddenly. And he said his words were, "I stampeded my cattle out of that pasture and I've never put them back in there since."
A state inspector came and investigated the pasture but couldn't determine exactly what killed the cattle. He concluded it was some sort of plant.
Friends and family of the internet, this is so disturbing because I just brought you this morning the information on these 2 CCP scientists from China that came into America bringing a deadly fungus with them. Now, this fungus that they brought goes for wheat crops. And I didn't really explain that much to you guys in that original video, but it will cause a Fusarium wilt on wheat crops, right? And for a lot of people that raise cattle, they do something called rotational grazing. So the cattle are in this field one month or 2 months, and they move them to another pasture. And a lot of times that they will go back and seed those pastures with cover crops just to feed the cattle better, to bring soil health back, and to be able to finish out their cattle on grazing versus corn. It's actually a much cheaper way to raise your cattle, and you get a better quality of meat. Here's the really mind-blowing thing. It's not necessarily the Fusarium itself, the fungi itself, that kills cattle by making them ill. It is the mycotoxins are odorless, tasteless. You can't see them, you can't smell them, you can't taste them. And it may not even be that fungi, that Fusarium graminearum, is in your soil coming up in your wheat crop, your rice crop, your oat crop. It could be coming in by the feed that you're purchasing. And just so you know, Canada has one of the highest rates of finding this in their feed. The only way to detect it is to actually test your feed. Another expense that ranchers have to come out of pocket for. If you want to know what this Fusarium that these CCP scientists brought in America will do to cattle, this: hoof rot, ears and tails falling off, bloat. Anybody that knows anything about cattle knows that bloat will kill your cattle in just a few minutes. Yeah, low birth rate, instantaneous abortion of fetus, the heat, the going ovulating, being off, not gaining weight, not eating anymore, liver damage. Do I need to say more, folks? So I'm hearing this story that more cattle are just dropping dead in fields. And I'm curious if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Are you pattern recognizing like I am that maybe there is some form of fungus on the cover crops out in the field that the cattle are grazing? Now, I'm on 2 acres. I graze chickens. Yes, I said it. Proud as can be. I graze chickens, right? I mean, you got to work with what you got. The Bible tells you that, you know, he who is faithful with a little, God will give you much, because he sees that you can take what you've got and produce. There's a story in the Bible where God gives everybody the same amount of money. Jesus does, right? Really wasn't Jesus. Jesus told the story. It's a parable. So the person, the business owner, whatever you want to call them, gives everybody a coin and says, okay, I'm going to leave. When I come back, I want to see what you've done with it. Some people buried their coin, gave him back exactly what was given to them. Some people came and they had multiplied their coins by 10. They had one, they turned it into 10. Well, that's how I see ranchers. Like, they're producers, right? They take a herd of cattle that's very expensive in this day and age, and they turn that into meat. They turn that into food. And now something is indiscriminately killing them. And the vets don't know what it is. They try to blame it on sulfur. One vet said maybe there's a plant in that grazing area, in that pasture that killed the cattle. Maybe there's a fungus. Because the fungus that these CCP scientists were trying to sneak into America and study is deadly. It causes liver damage. It can be brought in through breathing or eating a product that the fungus is growing on. So you've got cattle in pasture, and all of a sudden they just start dying. Something's very wrong with that. Then you hear in the news these farm attacks, right? People's animals just being shot. Guys, what? This is agroterrorism at its best. And then I heard a few years ago, I heard this, and it's been proven, you can look it up yourself, that the CCP had managed to steal the genetic material of America's livestock animals. So all of our producing bulls, all of our heifers, all of our prized genealogical lines of the best producers of meat per pound, the best quality of meat, and America's got the best meat. When you read these articles, they make it sound like there's this thriving business of semen, right? Pig semen, cow semen. And why is that? It's because when the swine flu hit a few years ago, it pretty much wiped China's entire pork industry out. So they started importing American pigs, American pig semen. The same with cattle. There was a big milk scandal out of China where they were putting toxic chemicals that killed children to raise up the vitamin and the protein levels of the milk that China sold. I don't even understand why American farmers and ranchers would deal with China. I know a gentleman in Louisiana that sells rabbits to China, thousands of them a year. He gets way more money than what he could get in American industry because we have safety laws. We have so many hoops that we have to jump through, even as small farmers, just to get our food on your table. And it doesn't make any sense because we can import crap from China that is toxic and nothing happens. But when the left liberal lunatic news people get on there, it's always Trump. Trump's destroying it. He's destroying it. He's trying to keep you people safe. You don't even realize it. Due to the fact that I have the most amazing subscribers to my channel, I read each and every one of your comments. One of you said, Sam, did you see that Katie Hobbs, Governor Hobbs, a Democrat from Arizona, vetoed a Republican-backed bill to keep, ready for this, the CCP from buying up farmland and or property, especially within so many miles of a base. She said, nope, no good. You can't do that. That's not fair. It's no fair, said Katie Hobbs. She vetoed it. She just kicked it out. It was a very straightforward bill, I might add. CCP put out a top 10 list for 2025. On that top 10 to-do list was be at the top of the agricultural sector. Right now in America, 360,000 students at universities are part of the CCP. They are funded by the CCP. They have to sign a document saying they won't acknowledge that they're part of the CCP, but they will give all the intellectual knowledge that they gain at America's expense back to the CCP. They have taken an oath to their country. And yet, America just keeps letting them pour in. We keep inviting them into our universities. Funny thing, land grant universities are usually the universities that deal with agricultural stuff. So LSU, land grant. Texas A&M, it's a land grant university. They had a huge fiasco when they realized that hundreds of their scientists were being funded under the table by the CCP with secret labs in China and then labs here in America. Now, the crazy thing is they're also grant recipients of federal tax dollars. So when Trump is going after all these foreign-born actors and people in our country at our universities that aren't American, there's actually a reason for it. If you think that's bad, China they steal billions a year of technological advances from the American people. What are you saying, Sam? American scientists figure out they produce an ear of corn that won't get a fungus, that'll grow 4 ears on the same stalk in 2 weeks' time and have more calories to feed more people with less food. China steals it, mass produces it, and their whole goal is to keep feeding the billions of Chinese, because it's like 1.3 or 1.4 billion people in that country right now. They don't care about America. We are their enemy. We're enemy number one. And for so long, between the tariffs and the stolen property of Americans and our intellectual best, it's ridiculous. Let me tell you something. He who controls the food controls the people. So when China releases their next big C and takes out all the animals in America or all the crops in America, then who's going to feed us then? And by the way, the ones you've watched me for a while, you guys know I'm not talking to you, right? I'm talking to people who don't actually know what's going on in the world and keep their head in the sand. I don't have time for people having fake offense, people. We have serious issues to discuss. I can't hold everybody's hands and stay on top of everything, so you got to cut me some grace. Guys, this is bad. This is so bad. Tell me what you think is going on. Tell me what you're hearing. We need to know. By the way, if you'd like to support our channel, look in the top of comments. If you'd like to receive our newsletter, it's $30 for 6 months of newsletters. If you send money through Cash App, please put your email address in the memo area, okay? Or I can't get the newsletter to you guys. I love y'all so much. It is broiling hot here in Southeast Louisiana today. I just made sure all my small livestock had fresh water. I'm bringing the boys inside to let them rest. And because, you know, they do duty at night for home protection. And I think I'm going to pull myself out of this heat for a bit. Love you guys so very much. Be blessed. Be prosperous.